Hello, YouTube. We are back for the attack for Mike Night Tiger's Thrilling Comics. And we are going to finish this book no matter what this week. So this upload is this Monday. So what I want to do is I want to just clean up the leaf casting. And I'm very happy with the blue LED light, how it worked, and it lightened up the reds that bled through with the leaf casting. So I'm happy with that as indicated. This is the blue LED light that I used, and I'm going to leave a description if you want to pick it up on Amazon with a link that you hit, and it will bring you right to the actual bulb. So next, what we want to do is I want to clean up the graphics as indicated in prior uploads. And when I say clean up the graphics, I am talking about, as an example, right here, there is some leaf casting that spilled over this star right here. So I want to clean that up. And the way I'm going to clean it up is I'm going to use some methyl cellulose. Right here, I'm going to do a little dip into a rigid square brush. I don't want to use a lot. And then what I do is I take the rigid square brush and I just gently push the methyl cellulose into the leaf casting, just like this. And then what it will do, it will loosen up the pulp that was placed down, and it will clean it up. And look, it removes it. I hope the camera's picking it up. Just like this, and you push it, and that's how you remove it. And then I have a paper towel on the side, and I clean the pulp off. And the reason why I use the methyl cellulose is because by removing the pulp, by using the rigid square brush, I also am gluing down any methyl cellulose that may have been, or any paper pulp that may have been lifted from the original cover. So it's a twofold. The methyl cellulose is both cleaning, and the methyl cellulose is removing pulp, and it is gluing down areas of the paper pulp that may have been lifted by using the brush. So right there, we're going to let that sit, and I'll be able to remove that very shortly by using the rigid brush. So that's how I clean the pieces of paper pulp that may have got their way onto graphics. It's very simple. That's how we do it. And sometimes what I do is, if I see that a little too much moisture from the methyl cellulose is sticking onto the page, I'll just back off from it for a little bit and I'll let it dry. And then we'll go to another place and we'll clean it up that way. Just like the A there, we can clean it up. And this is a nice method that I've been using for quite some time, and it works very nicely. So that's it. I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to go and I'm going to work on it with a little bit more detail. And then after I work on it for a little more detail and a little bit more detailed attention to the areas, we're going to come right back, because this is going to be an all-inclusive upload where we're going to try to include everything that we are doing in order to finish this book. So I'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. I cleaned up the cover, and now we have the whole interior, which is pressed flat. I leaf casted the spine, this section, and this section because it was missing pieces only on the first page of the interior. The color match is not the best. It's dried a little bit off kilter when I dried it, and I leaf casted it off camera. But I'm happy with it because this is the first wrap, so instead of leaf casting the interior, which I usually do, I leaf casted the exterior, or the top page, or the top half of the wrap, because there was extensive rips. So all here is Tengojo repair in addition to leaf casting. And when it's folded, the area that I leaf casted is going to be covered by the cover. So when I do the first wrap, I generally leaf cast the cover side of the first wrap as I indicated, because it's going to be covered by the cover when we fold it. So you're not going to notice the leaf casting that much, okay? And when I leaf cast wraps that are other than the first wrap, I do the reverse, if that makes sense, or the centerfold side, because each wrap is going to cover. And then when I leaf cast the centerfold, I do the reverse, if this makes sense, and I leaf cast the side that doesn't face the center, because it will be hidden by the page before it. So what do we want to do now? What we want to do is I want to make the staple holes. And let's do that, because we're going to try to assemble this book in this one upload, and we're going to get it hopefully completed. So right here I have a piece of craft foam. I like to put that down on my pad, my working pad, when I do staple placement or staple holes. And I want to try to line everything up nicely around the perimeter of the book to make sure that when we put our pin in, we do a good job with the holes, and they go through and penetrate the book in the right location for each page. Right here I have my staples that have been on my backsplash for quite some time. This is the top. And right here, this book, as you may recall, had 4 staples in it. I thought that the staples may have been from the factory with a misstaple, boom, boom, boom. But there was some conversation in the comments that it wasn't. It may have been. But again, I don't know. And being that there is a situation where there were multiple staples in this book, I am not too concerned with putting them in the proper position. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I am going to pick the cream of the crop staples. And I'm going to pick the best ones that were in the book, and we're going to use them. I'm also going to adjust them, and what I do is I take my fingernail and I scrape it, because I'm trying to see, are they rusty? And they're really not. They're just oxidized and turned dark, and I'm okay with that. But I'm going to put them to the side, and I'm going to pick the best staples out of the bunch, and we're going to use them, okay? And I just picked the best, I think, and here's another one. But take a look at this wacky staple. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. It's pretty wacky. It's all over the place. I am going to straighten them with a pair of pliers. And to be honest, I don't like that staple because it doesn't look too original. So, in fact, these may be staples that were put in after manufacturing. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the Golden Age staples are rounded when they're bent like this, in my experience. Those were not rounded or curved, that's a better term. they were more looking at it a 90-degree or right angle. I hope my math is correct. So I'm going to get a pair of pliers right now, and we're going to manipulate and clean up the shape of the staples. And when I do this, usually I do not like to use metal tools on the staples. And the reason why I don't like using metal tools is because I don't want to trigger a restored grade through CGC. But I know Mike Night Tiger is not going to use CGC with this one, and it is solely going to be used for his personal collection, this book. So I have no problem with it. So what I want to do is I want to stop the camera now, and I want to just take a second, and I want to look at the staples more closely because I have to get close to them, and we're going to pick out the best staples. So stay tuned. Okay, guys, we're back, and we're ready to get rolling with this. So I have my staples off to the side here that I chose out of the ones, whether they are 100% original. I'm a little suspect with this bottom one, but it's vintage, and I'm going to use it because the one that I may think is original, the leg of the staple is very short, and that's one of the reasons why I think maybe someone put more staples in at the time, because it didn't penetrate the whole book. Also, what I want to do is I'm just going to show you what there are. Here's the spine seam in the book. I can see it, whether it's coming through on the camera is uncertain. So what I do is I take the staple and I put it up to the place where I can visibly see the old staple holes, and I'll take my pin and I'll push it through until I feel the craft foam. I'm going to do this off camera because I have to get close. I'm going to get really close so I can see where I'm putting the holes with the pin. And this is a pin I like to use with a T-top so I have good pressure. And then once I make the holes, we'll be right back. I'll show you how I'm going to do it on the centerfold. Actually, on the cover. Take that back. Okay, guys. Staple holes secured. As you can see, bottom. Look, I'll take the pin out. 1, 2, 1, 2. And it's nicely in the location of the original staple holes in the book, so I'm happy with that. Let's get the staples out of the way. I'm going to do another piece of tape. I'll put a T there so we know which ones go where. I'll take the tape off, and I'll place the staples on the blue tape. 1 and 2. Bam, bam, bam. See how scientific that was? So let's put it over here by the exciting, because I have a bunch of tape all over the place with all of my books that I'm working on. So now that I did that, that's fine and dandy. Let's take it and let's push it down just like this. And now I'm going to get the cover ready. Okay? And I'm going to try to place the cover in shape or in line with everything. But what I like to do is I like to take a few of the wraps off, just like that, nice and easy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to position the 2 first wraps with the cover, and then we're going to make the holes in the cover. So what I want to do is I want to line it up as best as possible, just like that, and that looks pretty good. And you see how I have the cover a little bit larger than the wraps, because when you fold it, you lose some of the distance. You can't just measure a cover when you leaf cast it if you measure this width, because you're going to go short. Because when you wrap it around, each page increases, And believe me, I learned that lesson the hard way. So let me shut the camera off again. Let me get close. I'll make the holes. Okay, we're back. Holes were made in the cover. We're rolling fast and furious with this book for Mike Night Tiger because I want to get this finished so I can start Jeremy's book. So let's then pat it down nicely. And there we go. We have the holes for the cover nicely. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're ready to roll. The next thing that we have to do is what? What do we have to do, Jerry? Well, very simply, I'm contemplating the method by which I'm going to fold this book. And I have different ways that I'm thinking about doing it. Should I install the staples first? Should I install the staples after? And I've been mulling it over back and forth because I used many different methods of doing this in the past. So the first thing that I know I have to do is I need to essentially round the spine of the first wrap because it's leaf casted. So let's do that right now. Okay, let's take it off and we're going to focus on the first wrap. And the reason why I have to round it is because, as you can tell, the leaf casting was performed on the front of the centerfold. Okay, so what does that mean, Jerry? It means that if I just fold it and I start trying to go and changing the curve and folding it without any preparation, there is a chance that you may have a problem with the leaf casting in that it may come up. Okay, you have to be delicate with it. So here I go I have a dowel. We're going to take a dowel. I just put a piece of Hollytex down. You can use Ramay, Hollytex. It doesn't matter which one you use. And I have it lined up nicely with my dowel where the spine is. Then I'm going to take a brush. We'll use this brush. It's a little wider. And then I have water right here in a mason jar. Okay. So I'm going to put a little water, and to be honest, I'm going to first put the brush in a little methyl cellulose like this, then I'm going to dip it in water. So we have a little mixture, and then what I want to do is I just want to slowly moisten the center of the leaf casting like this. Okay, just like this. And as you can see, it just by essence of adding the water, what is happening? It is dropping. Look at that. Not even a lot of pressure. Just by adding the water, it's dropping and it's rounding very nicely. Okay? I don't have to use my spoon. I don't have to do anything. But I can do some delicate massaging. So we just put a piece of parchment paper down, and then I can slowly just rub like this along the dowel and the page spine, and then we'll see how it is turning out. And it is rolling over nicely. The holes are still there, just like this, and that's rounding it. That's giving it what I need. And in fact, right here I have my little tack iron, and I can just gently try to dry it just like this and give it some heat. And in fact, I can go like this as well, and go like this as well, and just give it a little heat so it dries up. and this will be able to be folded nicely without the leaf casting coming up and making a problem for the leaf casting to come up, and we have to do it all over again. So let's see if I can now do something where I am just going to take this. It's a little damp, but it's not super damp. And what I want to do is I want to see if I can take it and I can put it now on the existing book right here, just like this. And I'm going to slowly see if we can fold it nicely, nice and slow, and see if I can close this without any issue. Just like that. And I hope the camera's picking this up. Just like this, nicely. Because the pages that are not leaf casted, you really don't have an issue with them, because the paper has paper memory and the paper will go back to the fold. You can't do that with paper that is brittle, because once you try to start manipulating paper that's brittle, then you have a problem. The paper can just crack and break, and then all the work that you did, you're not going to be happy with. So right there, let's take a look. And then what I want to do is I want to set it up nicely, just like this. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to take this and I'm going to put this in my bookbinding / copy press / Big Bertha. And I'm going to give it a little pressing for about maybe a couple of hours. And then with editing magic, we'll come right back to it. And we'll see how it actually flattened out nicely and the curves will be there. So let's put a nice clear piece over it like this. Let's do that. And let's put the top shelf on just like this. Okay, and I'm gonna put it in the bookbinding press / copy press / Big Bertha. And from this point forward, when I refer to this as the bookbinding press, I may not say copy press. It may be incorrect, but you know what? I like to call it that. Okay, so I just put some pressure on it. I didn't put a super amount of pressure on it. And that's good. That's what we want to do. And I'm going to slowly dial in on it, slowly and slowly and slowly, and keep on doing it. And eventually we will have it where it is probably in very nice shape. Now what we can do when we're waiting for the interior, let's get right to the cover, because I'm going to do the same thing with the cover, and we're going to round the spine with the cover. So what I want to do is I want to grab some various pieces of glass, and I'll show you why I'm going to do that. I'm going to put the dowel right in where the holes are, just like this. Let me check my camera and make sure I'm getting all of this. And let's put it up a little bit, just like that. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to get some boards that we use with the comics, and I'm going to place a board right here. Okay. Shiny side down. And then what I want to do is I want to put one of my pieces of glass just like that. Okay, actually let's move it a little like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing, okay, on the other side. And I know I'm going to have some glare with the glass, but that's okay. We can get past that. Matter of fact, what we'll do is let's waste some paper, and I'll put a piece of paper towel here so you don't see the glare on the glass with the lights I use. So there you go. I have it lined up with the holes. Now I want to take my brush that I used before, okay, and then I'm just going to gently paint a line of water with the brush slowly, and we're going to go down nicely. I'll come up this time and then just slowly wet the leaf casting, okay? And there you can see, by doing that, it is folding nicely and it's creating a little channel or rounding the leaf casted spine so it will fold a lot nicer. Now, I've used this method before in the past. I used the method where I wet the spine and then I folded it around the book itself, the interior. But I use different methods, and that's the great thing about conservation. There's a lot of different methods that people use, and there's no right or wrong. It's just how you get the job done. Okay, so right here we have it, and it is shifting nicely. It is rounding like this. So what I want to see is I want to lift up the piece of glass now that it's wet, or the spine is wet, and I want to get a little closer, just like this. You see that? And then what I want to do is I want to put the piece of glass here to round it a little bit. Okay, guys, just like that. Let's cover it. And then we're going to do the same thing for the right side. So what I'll do is I'll take my board, I'll get a little closer, and then what we'll do is we'll put the glass on, just like that, okay? And then what I'll do is I will get the glass, push it a little closer like this. Let's cover it so we don't have glare. I'm sure people are sleeping already with this very exciting upload about how I round the spine. And let's give it a little more water, just like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another application of the methyl cellulose. I just put some methyl cellulose on the brush. I'm going to mix it with a little water, and then I'm going to go down just like this, and we're going to give it a nice wetting. And the methyl cellulose also works very well, because what it will do is it will, again, give a nice little barrier or gluing down the edges of the leaf casting that may have loosened up because of the curving. So what I want to do now is we're going to do one last, bringing the glass a little closer, just like this. And we're going to push it in like that. Okay. Let's cover it up so you don't get the glare. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing for the cover side, push it in a little bit more. And then I'll put the glass and I'll push the glass in like that. And then we have our rounded spine, and we're just going to let it dry right now. So guys, I know I said I was going to essentially do one upload with this, but I have to be honest, this is probably a little bit too long. And I noticed that when I do long uploads, it's not as popular. They're not as popular because, listen, everyone's busy in life. People have a lot of things that they have to do, and I get it. And I appreciate everyone watching. So let's do a little shorter uploads, and this is going to be a continuation for the assembly of the book. And I appreciate your support. Thank you. If you aren't subbed, please subscribe. I know that maybe it is silly of me to be asking because I see there's a lot of controversy in the comic community. I just watched an upload from a YouTuber, very popular, and he's referring to people as sticker people or sticker channels, which, listen, he's entitled to his opinion. I really don't have any aversion to what this YouTuber does. But for me, in making these uploads, I'm doing conservation work. I know from time to time I do my comic tours, unboxings, and things of that nature. But what drives me to make these uploads is views, people watching, people making comments, people asking questions, people who are intrigued about the content that I make. And if they are not intrigued and they don't watch, I wouldn't make the content. Because what am I going to do? Talk to myself in my basement, in my boiler room, working on books like a weirdo and no one watches? So when people comment, subscribe, and do all those things, it actually drives me to make more content. So that's my 2 cents of the reason why I ask for subs, and has nothing to do with being a sticker channel or anything like that. It's just me making content, sharing my passion for comic conservation and what I've learned over the course of the few years that I've been on YouTube, and trying to show what I've learned to people. And it's funny, since I started the channel, now there's a lot of wonderful conservation channels. They're doing what I think I started, and correct me if I'm wrong. And there's another YouTube channel, Lunch Money Comics, that just posted an upload. And he had someone on it who's a comic cleaner and presser, and they did an aqueous bath on a Moonlight book, the first appearance of Moonlight. And I was watching it, and they use my grates, they use my toilet paper holders, they use the same method that I illustrated and I showed to the comic community. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And for some reason, this channel gets like 12,000 views, 6,000 views, whatever it is. And people were looking at it and they were commenting saying, wow, that's amazing. How'd you learn how to do it? I can't believe you put a cover or pages in water. It's like they took my instructions and they just followed it. And I was okay with it. I don't want credit. I don't want people saying, hey, I have to give credit to Jerry the Jitterbug because he first did this. No, that's not the way I am. And I actually felt good watching it. And I'm like, good, maybe I spread some knowledge around and people are starting to do this the way I showed how to originally do it on comics. So it was actually a compliment without a direct compliment to my channel. I wish I had that many subs and followers, but hey, I'm just a guy in the basement working on books. So enough talking. I appreciate your support. I know I said that. And stay tuned.